A season to forget.
If we don't win the league, Mick Arteta's position is in question.
You get knocked out of Champions League, what does that mean for your season?
That's it, innit, really?
Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Trending. It was a humbling weekend. A weekend of karma. A weekend of...
shit performances from us.
My team also had some shit performances. Your team was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, very good.
But so yeah, obviously I'm joined by Ibby.
Morning.
Humbled. Ben.
Very.
Gassed.
Absolutely gassed. And myself, quietly just getting on with my stuff in the background. Because, yeah.
That was bad, though. 4-0, Van der Ven sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
The meme of him sort of tumbling through the air will live for a long
But then
long
again,
time.
Van Dijk done it the next day, so...
Look, everyone has them. You just, like, the thing is...
He's been asking for that for a little while, Van der Ven.
Because he moves into the ball so quickly.
He takes the risk of being so high and just, like, he backs his own pace so much. And this was the first time that he's been actually, like... He's looking at Isak going like, oh no, he's moving really quickly with the ball away from me. The first goal especially.
We're not talking about it today, but Isak...
Player.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant. So look, lots of big results in the Premier League title charge.
Yes.
We went down to the Emirates to talk to Arsenal fans after the Liverpool loss about what that meant for their title charge, and we've got a video for you right now.
You know what? That would be brilliant if Palace can do it for us. I mean,
It's done.
Oh, wicked. So, yes. So we can call them bottle jobs now. Everyone wants the club to be, do you know what, leave on a high, but I don't think he's going to do it. Tough luck.
Tragic. I thought it was always going to happen, to be honest with you. I think they've been overperforming.
Well, it was like 10 years ago, innit? Getting done by Crystal Palace last game of the season, or like towards the end of the season. The thing is, I don't hate them as much as the other teams. Like, I kind of if we weren't the ones that win the league, I'd want Liverpool to do it. Yeah. But at the same time, it is quite funny because they've been giving us a lot of stick over the season. So, very nice.
No, I wouldn't say they bottled it. They bottled it, but it is a massive result. Like, it's a massive loss for them. I like the fact that people are writing us off. We haven't got that hype that we're, we was top for how many days and all of this, blah, blah, blah. The main thing we got to do is keep winning our games and keep playing the ball that we're playing and don't detract from that.
Horrific, horrible. Just definitely one player, I don't want to say his name, but number 35. He pissed me off. Sorry for my language, but we had the first half, it was so great, but as soon as we came back out, it was like they forgot how to play football, you get me? It's a minor setback. I think I think we'll come second.
These are choking. We're gonna, City's all day long, and they're just stealing it.
Cheers, mate.
Never mind.
Cheers, mate. Title's done. You can't. Man City are not going to lose the title when they get in this position. They've got easy games. They're winning every game. Arsenal fluffed their lines again. Just shows you, everyone's lauding Arsenal, saying, yeah, we've got a great defence. Our midfield's this is great. Our forwards are great, and we scored the most goals and letting the less goals. Yeah, but these are games against Sheffield United, Burnley, and West Ham. Bayern Munich ain't those teams, and Aston Villa teams. Look, how you beat us is easy. You get a centre forward who can back into our defenders, get on the shoulder. You'll beat us. You get wingers who work those flanks. You'll beat us. You'll beat us, and obviously, that's what Villa did. It was an easy game for Villa. As much as we've made significant improvements, we're not Man City. Man City have still got, 2 players for every position, especially in the midfield and especially up front. If Grealish gets injured, they got Doku. The same if De Bruyne gets injured and he doesn't play well, Foden plays well. They still got the best squad in the league. And, the fact is, whilst Liverpool, everyone's talking about us in Liverpool, Man City was still in their coattails. Let's face it, these players do not know how to win big games. They know how to win non-pressure games. When the pressure's on, it hasn't changed since the last members of Wenger days. Put the pressure on Arsenal, we flounder.
So would you Arsenal go from here? You got Bayern Munich.
We're not winning that game. We're not winning that game. Bayern Munich are the hot favourites, and they'll finish the job over Munich.
So if Arsenal don't win on Wednesday, where does that leave you guys for the rest of the season?
It will leave us playing for second place. With Liverpool, we're not winning anything.
There we go.
I love football fans so much, man. Oh.
Football is a humbler, an equaliser. But I want let's start with the earlier fixture, because obviously Liverpool at home against Crystal Palace, and can't get the job done. What happened, Dibby? What went wrong?
I actually watched the highlights because I was obviously on the way to the Arsenal game. But it is typical Liverpool, to be honest. We went 1-0 down. Everyone thought, oh, it's Liverpool. We're going to go 1-0 down. We're going to win 2-1. We couldn't finish our chances. And this is the same issue I've had time and time again. We don't finish our chances.
Yeah, there was a couple of big ones again. Yeah. And the thing is, I reckon Liverpool's XG must be crazy, right? Like, they create so many good chances. Not just like half chances. Like, people going through one-on-one, big open goal chances, and don't take them. I thought Crystal Palace were actually very good.
Very good.
I thought Eze in particular, Eze Elise, when those two start, it's a different game. Different game for Palace, isn't it? And Eze in particular was, well, he just looked like he was enjoying himself.
Yeah, it just shows the levels of the whole league is actually. And when people talk about the Premier League in sort of like general terms, like the best league in the world, it may or may not be, but it is so unbelievably competitive. Like week in, week out. Last year, Arsenal played 3 draws, and it was Liverpool, West Ham, and Southampton, and it was like that was what sort of cost them the league. This year, every single week, there's a team that are sort of pushing one of the top 3 so close, and like Eze could not walk into any of these teams, but is of that level. And almost every single team, Villa are the same, where they have players that can really, really hurt these big sides, even though they're spending huge amounts of money and are super dominant in Europe as well. It shows the level of the league, and it's mate, I was loving it yesterday. It was just, not just from like a sort of Schadenfreude, like I wanted 2 big teams to lose. Just this quality of football from both Palace and Villa, and individual performances like Henderson in goal for Palace, Eze, and then in the Villa game as well, Watkins, McGinn, Martinez made a big save, like huge. And there are so many like different narratives within it that are so great to get your like teeth stuck into as well. Like Martinez going back there, Emery going back to the Emirates, like all of it is just so fun to watch at the moment. And I'm like, as a neutral, without the stress of actually caring too much about who wins or loses, it is brilliant to watch. It's so fun.
So when you go to the Emirates. After full time, and those Arsenal fans are giving it, and they're saying like, but now they have the bottle jobs. So I'm like, how were you feeling? Were you feeling down?
It's hard because we've lost Atlanta.
Yeah.
We lost Atlanta. We drew against United, and then Arsenal bottle it, and you're like, this is your we had a chance to go back on top.
Yeah.
And then the issue of Arsenal fans, oh, sorry, no, I'm not trying to get cancelled again. The issue of Arsenal fans is they get too excited too early, and I think that's their biggest issue. Is they start, and this is within football as well. It's like they think, all right, cool, we're gonna do it this year. Not realizing that they've done the exact same thing last season. Season before they didn't do anything, so it's kind of like you guys are just predicting. Let it just happen. That's why Man City. Everyone forgets about Man City. Everyone's forgotten about Man City.
They just quietly go about.
They've kind of being third has almost helped their cause because they're not spoken about as aggressively as Arsenal Liverpool are, and the games feel much heavier for Arsenal and Liverpool. Sorry,
I do also think that Man City go quietly about their things because they have no fans to make a noise about. Do you know what I mean? Like if Arsenal have a huge fan base, Liverpool have a huge fan base, so they're constantly vocal about what they're doing, how they're playing. Man City, the reality is they don't have as many fans. Like that's actually people are gonna slate me for that, but the reality is
in London you're more likely to, obviously Arsenal, but you're much more likely to know a Liverpool fan than you are City fan.
But social media is a worldwide place, and I'm not seeing many Man City fans on social media.
Well, I think in years to come they'll be building that.
That
audience now.
Winning helps that with young fans for sure.
So then Liverpool are handed essentially a get out of jail free card in a way by Aston Villa putting in a very, very good performance, right? Let's take nothing away from... I mean, Arsenal could have killed the game in the first half. I thought they were very good in the first half. You know, big chances, falling to the right people, but they just didn't kill it. Villa came out at half-time, changed a couple of things, pushed up the pitch a little bit. And like you guys said, Watkins unbelievable again. John McGinn is a 6-7 out of 10 every week, and this week he was an 8-9 out of 10. But I thought defensively there were very few sort of
proper clear cut. They weren't opened up at any point.
They felt very comfortable. Yeah. I think that was the biggest thing in the second half was Arsenal couldn't get on the ball and create. And every time they tried to, they looked tired. They looked leggy. A lot of Arsenal fans not happy with the team selection.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think Arsenal kind of underperformed in that second half. I think Villa just put in one of their best performances this season.
Who was it that let go of Martinez? Was it Emery or Arteta?
Ooh.
Because whoever let go of Martinez needs to take a huge amount of blame. If you could Google that, because that is like Martinez is a world-class goalkeeper. He does it every single week. Like he might not be as good as
World Cup
Ramsdale.
winning goalkeeper.
Exactly. And Ramsdale Raya, I'm not gonna lie, Martinez is clear of both of them.
What I love about this part of the season is like there's a part of me that thinks you said about like City doing it quietly and like that's an advantage. I think the like online noise is like it creates this like pressure cooker at this point in the season for Arsenal and Liverpool, and like players and managers will sort of say, "Oh, we don't take that in." It is quite literally impossible if you own a phone or go out in the street to avoid some form of like like these major narratives, because it is literally all anyone's talking about in the football world.
Yeah.
And football is probably the most talked about thing in the UK on a Monday morning. So it's like, for me, I always think about like Declan Rice and like the way, you know, this sort of earlier in the season when like Odegaard was celebrating with the camera. Part of me is like, I want them to enjoy that. We want them to show personalities. But I always think
It's going to come back and bite you.
there's always an element where, and you have to accept that as
That's just
like
it, isn't
in
it? That's
football,
just
you have to
football,
accept
yeah.
it. Like this is the boxes that we've done to yesterday,
Oh, great
or that
example.
Ibby's done,
Yeah.
are a great example
Yeah.
of why it is great to be a football fan,
Yeah.
and why it is awful
Well, it's
to be a
horrible,
football
yeah.
fan. It's like the most. It's just you've got no control of it, and I think it's difficult for players to separate themselves from these narratives. And the fact that City have won it so many times, and the fact that they aren't necessarily the biggest, loudest fan base, I think is a massive advantage for them, because it doesn't create this like pressure cooker where, like, Arsenal fan TV has been a big problem for Arsenal, where players listen to it, like it, dislike it, it goes to their heads, gets to their heads, and that discourse becomes really difficult to deal with. And I think when you're Arsenal and Liverpool, Klopp listens to it, Arteta listens to it. You can tell by the way they like almost wear it on their shoulders in press conferences that this like the sort of fan hype, it gets to this point in the season and like the pressure just is so high when the noise is so loud. And I think like part of it yesterday was exactly that. It was just like two big games for both of them in the week and then this weekend, and it was just tough. And like the level is so high that if you're 1% off it, it costs you. And I think you can say, people say like they've bottled it. They're in a 3-horse race in a really competitive league with really good teams. Like Villa are only 10 points off the top three.
Exactly.
So it's like, and they've only really had a couple of months where they had like a bit of a minor blip with injuries. So this Villa team are close to the level of these three teams and punching well above their weight. So it's like to sort of say Arsenal bottled it yesterday, I think is harsh. But
I don't
It was
think
Arsenal
it's
fans saying
but that's part of the problem.
Fair.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's their own fans as much as like the noise outside of it that is just awful
I
for
do think
players
it's
to deal with.
interesting though, because Man City have set a really unrealistic winning
Yeah.
target. Right, for most fans, they feel like if you lose a game, draw a game now, that's fucking untenable. You can't imagine a world in which you could possibly. That was the first game Arsenal have lost in 2024.
But
There's also. They drew to Bayern Munich. I like, albeit Bayern not having a great season, but it's Bayern in the Champions League. They throw all their eggs in. They drew to Bayern Munich. They didn't lose.
Yeah.
It's 0-0. You've got. It's just another game on Wednesday, and we're seeing fans sort of say, "There's no chance we win that game." There's no. Why not?
Yeah.
You've lost one game.
yeah,
Let's
The most
take
depressing Arsenal fan after that, where he was like, season's done, like, fuck off. Like, before the game, he'd have been like, this is a fucking proper chance of winning it now. Like, if we'd had the same fan, like, 90 minutes before, he'd have been like, cool. Oh, what a job. We're flying, like, we're going to win today.
The emotions are high, right? And the emotions are high, and I get it. But all I'm saying is, like, take a breath, take a step back. yes, it's a terrible result. There's no getting away from that. But City have to go to Spurs. Arsenal, it's still very much, it's all to play for. Everyone's saying City aren't going to drop points. City have to go to Spurs. That's the only one out of all of them. And if they draw and Arsenal win, they're ahead again, right?
City could lose to anyone or draw against anyone.
But also,
I'm much more optimistic. Well, I say optimistic. I think City could lose to anyone because the league standard is so high. There's a lot of competition for relegation, Europe. Like all three different versions of the Europe, like Conference, Europa, and Champions League.
But I do think Arteta has to take the blame for yesterday, just because his team selection was so bad that he was actually saving himself for the Champions League, and in the Premier League.
You have to. The thing is, the reason you bring in players like Zinchenko, players like Jesus, is because you think that we can rotate in the way that City do, in the way that guy was talking about. Well, City have Doku. City have Foden who can come in. Well, Arsenal have that.
But do they? They don't have that quality.
Maybe not
they don't
to the
have
same level, but look.
and that's why you have to play. If you don't have it to the same level, you have to play your best team, especially in a title-winning season where you could go on and win the title.
Yeah, but then people say Saka looks really tired.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, but that's
so it's just like, but Arteta is rock and a hard place.
Yeah,
you can't win
100%
when you're playing against this City team and the habit of winning and the squad depth. The standard is unrealistic.
Yeah.
I think overall to be like, Arteta just plays for first team is so harsh because it's just like Saka looks knackered. He's doing that limp every time he gets sort of.
That's become a real thing online quite quickly, hasn't it?
But I can imagine it's like he does get kicked all the time.
He gets kicked.
And
I'm sorry,
like
I don't think
he's
he
what
gets
is he,
kicked
21?
so much, and he's young, and I think let's lay off him a little bit.
Mate, Euro
I didn't start. All I'm saying is Arteta. I'm saying, for me personally, you have to play your best team. If your players are tired, you have to play the team that will get you results because it comes with number one, experience, and number two, ability.
Zinchenko has won Premier League, loads of Premier Leagues.
It's only 12 months ago that Zinchenko was like, this new role, he's invented it. Like Arsenal
he's fallen off a lot.
He had a really, really tough game yesterday. But I think, he's up against, again, let's look at it. He's looking up against Diaby, a very good
rapid.
Winner. And then they bring on Leon Bailey, another very good winner. Like he's not up against some League
He's
Two.
there. He's going like, come on, bring on a fullback. Play three at the back. Come on, bring on back.
Just bring on Ramsey or something so he can just come inside. Yeah. No, look, and Unai Emery probably said, right, okay, that's going to be a major. But I also think, there was a lot of talk about that. Zaniolo had a great time against Ben White yesterday. I thought he had a very good game as well, Zaniolo.
Yeah, he's a good player, to be fair.
Ben White got pulled for Tomiyasu, and Tomiyasu looked a bit lost when he came on. That's where the first goal comes from, the ball across the area. No one's there. No one at the back post. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest.
Arsenal...
I think on your first 11 thing, well, it's all well and good saying that, but then you get players injured.
Yeah.
You look at Liverpool, you get players injured, or you play your first 11 through for as long as you can, and then they get so tired that you get beaten 3-0 by Atalanta and then beaten 1-0 at home by Crystal Palace.
And then when they do get injured, the players that are coming in aren't sharp.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that, Arsenal,
takes 2 or 3
with
months.
Arsenal resting players or Arteta resting players, they have to do a job on Bayern Munich. Because now if they lose both, then it's like, surely Arteta has to blame. He's rested players for the Bayern Munich game, lost against Villa, and then they're going to lose at Bayern. You have to give Arteta the blame.
Look, you went down to the Emirates to ask Arsenal fans if they felt like if they lose against Bayern Munich on Wednesday, what does that mean for their season? What does it mean for Arteta? And where does it leave them going forward?
If Arsenal go trophyless this season, have they underachieved?
Definitely. We need to win at least one title. If it's Champions League or the Premier League.
Fucking Villa.
Shit shirt. If you would say last season we would have overachieved, because we overachieved last season, but we built on that and we became better. But we played well all season. So, of course, the players are not. It's always then they're not used to like winning ways at the end of the season. It don't matter what season. If we're going for Champions League or the league or whatever, we still like at the end of the season we pull back. We pull into first gear instead of like going into sixth. You get me? So
Bayern Munich, you come out the Champions League. What does that mean for your season?
shit season. Like we haven't. It's a season to forget. You get me? So like it's yeah. There's nothing memorable about it if you don't win against them or win the league. We need to have at least one of them. So.
100% it's a failed season because that's a full consecutive year winning trophies, and the manager's position has to be called into because, you know, you can't be unlucky by not winning the league last year. You can't be unlucky by not getting top 4 2 seasons ago. If we don't win the league, then Mick Arteta's position is in question because he's had the funding and he's had his own team, he's had the players, and he picks the players. If it don't work out, he can't take the praise but not the criticism.
Yeah, I think so. We're at a stage now in the club where we should be winning trophies. So, yeah, it is.
Who is to blame?
I think everyone, to be fair. I don't think there'd be one person in particular. I think everyone. I mean, for me, I back Arteta 100%. I think we're a young team. We're getting stronger. And as disappointing as it is, I still back us to do well this season.
Do you start asking questions?
No. Why? It's been a good season for Arsenal all round, and I think we're still in the chance. But I think there's going to be another twist in Arsenal season this season.
No, it's the progression in the Champions League. But seriously need to try and win it next season. But hopefully City slip up, but I can't see it.
So if you guys don't win anything, do you question Arteta's position?
No.
No, I wouldn't say so. I think if we got that Champions League semi-final, final, and like second again or something, I don't even think that's failed.
You get knocked out of Champions League, what does that mean for your season?
That's it, innit, really? Like, unless City drop points, but I can't see it, City dropping points.
There's a lot to unpack there.
A lot to unpack.
Scouse Arsenal fan.
Scouse Arsenal fan.
Rogue. Haven't seen that before.
We've got
a shit shirt.
London Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah,
that,
to be fair.
There's a trade-off there. And the shit shirt comment.
That was the worst
petty,
comeback ever.
Shit and shirt. I like it.
That was
the fucking
terrible comeback.
Shit shirt, mate.
So look, if Arteta doesn't win a trophy this season, if Arsenal don't win the league, if Arsenal don't win the Champions League, they're the two they're still in, do questions have to be asked of the process? And
100%.
You're saying
no,
yes?
No.
Yes? No. Brilliant. We've got both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first, actually.
No, I just think he's done really well. Yeah. They've done overall really, really well. They are at the top of the league. You can't. I think with trophies, it's really hard to expect trophies especially when you haven't won them for a long time. To get the first one over the line is so difficult. Yeah. So, and then to compete against basically the best Premier League team ever.
Yeah, most consistent.
Yeah,
now, right. Yeah.
Nobody's won it this amount of times in a row. It's
had to do the quad.
Yeah, they are just a ridiculous team, and to not win anything when it is City you're going up against is just unfair on Arteta. Basically, it's like I always think about this with Andy Murray. Just like
what you're saying, Djokovic,
Nadal, Federer, Andy Murray only got one Grand Slam.
It feels the same for all of them, though, right? Although the others
could have been more.
The others shared Grand Slams, but I understand what.
And
you're
they
saying.
are driving each other on to an extent.
Yeah.
In the same way, like the reason Arsenal are so good is because City are so good.
Yeah.
The reason City are so good is because Liverpool have been so good, and they are like there is this consistent,
100%.
and that exists in sport all the time. Yeah. But to call Arteta a failure and to like question him when actually there are other teams with like several managers that have had 5 years, and if you look at the two comparative examples of Arsenal and United,
it's a good.
Okay. Arteta is chalk and cheese from Ten Hag and any other Manchester United manager the last 10 years.
I agree.
Okay, so the reason I disagree with that is because Man United's situation is totally different. There is a lot upstairs that goes on. Arsenal gave Arteta what he needs. Mm-hmm. Arteta had what he needs. He brought in who he wants. Didn't go well. Okay, cool. So when would you start asking questions of Arteta?
I think, once Guardiola leaves. Honestly, I don't think it's like...
I kind of agree. At the beginning of every season, I kind of say the same thing.
Or if they dropped out of the title race, full stop. They won. It's like per season, the amount of games that you win, Arsenal generally... and it changes on like the season by season, the different competition within the league, but they are at the top of it again and going in a weird way, it feels closer this year because of Liverpool being in it.
Yeah,
Whereas last year they were top and sort of
I agree,
bottled it. But
because at the beginning of every season, you have to step back and go, right, Manchester City are in every competition my club is in this year. Right?
Yeah.
They're, as you said, they're probably the best Premier League team ever now, at least the most consistent Premier League team ever. But they're also funded by a state that can just do different things. They have a multi-club approach, which means you can do different things. They are a different entity to most football clubs in the Premier League, right? So if they're not in the trophy, if they're not in the race, you have a chance of winning a trophy. But you cannot, as a Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, any fan, winning that trophy is it's going to come down to, on the day, are you better than Manchester City? Most of the time, right? And most of the time, the answer is no, because they've got a super team. They also have the best manager possibly
ever.
Yeah, like it's definitely up for debate. And then they have this system where they're just sort of allowed to make this.
And they have this consistency of players as well, where it's like Arsenal, if they keep this team together, then I think they have a chance at being similar. But
I think they're right where they should be, especially when you consider that the first 3 years of Arteta's project were quite tumultuous. Lots of fans wanted him out. Lots of players still needed to go. Let's be honest, like they still had a pretty rubbish team.
And the players he brought in wasn't good enough. I'm sorry.
No, he's brought in
Saliba good enough, Declan Rice good enough, Kai Havertz for the money they got him for.
I think he's a
subtle.
Don't look at him.
No, for Kai Havertz for 65 million, you could have got so many better players. Gabriel Jesus. Come on, guys.
Gabriel Jesus, I think there's a fair conversation around what was expected of Gabriel Jesus. We're now at the point where it's like, was he brought in to score goals? Because if so, Pep Guardiola said used to push him out on the wing, said he wasn't that natural in front of goal. The Brazil manager pushes him out to the wing, doesn't like him in front of the goal, starts for Charles instead. I think there's a fair debate around, was Gabriel Jesus brought in to tie up play?
Yeah.
Or was he brought in to score goals? Because if he was brought in to score goals, then it was always going to be, can he do it? Can he actually push on that 10, 15, 20 a season?
We spoke about Arsenal when they played against Liverpool. They beat Liverpool, and we sort of said, like, this is sort of why neither team is going to win the league.
Sure.
Because like, Arsenal didn't have an out-and-out goal scorer. And I can't remember why we said Liverpool didn't win the league, but they're not, so we were right.
Also, Zinchenko as well. But he's good for one season.
The lack of a goal scorer yesterday was the real, like...
Yeah.
It was just
really
like
clear,
a out-and-out number 9, where it was put something away, make something happen. Because Arsenal dominated the ball generally, and they created
First
the
half.
Trossard chance. Saka had one from quite close out. And there were a couple of others.
They created chances in that
But
first
it was just
half.
like a Haaland that just finds a way to put the ball in the back of the net.
They need like a Giroud.
So is that not questioning Arteta for not getting one in?
Yeah, but I think he's been building slowly.
I would say yes, but if you go back and look at what Arteta's sort of said, he said there's not a striker that we want available now. So then you build around where you think you can build, you can get goals.
And it's the hardest thing to buy.
It's definitely been a massive issue for them. Ask any Arsenal fan, they'll tell you we need a striker. No one is sitting there saying, oh yeah, it's between Jesus and Havertz. No.
I'm not gonna lie. As Liverpool, when we need a striker, we got a striker in. Like we'll
Nunes.
Who?
When we needed a striker, we got in Origi. We even got in Ricky Lambert. Just get a 9 to do the job.
That is what Arsenal are missing. That is what Arsenal are missing. As an absolute Saints legend, I agree that is exactly what Arsenal need.
Just think about it. Think about it.
Ricky Lambert.
Think about it. There's Dominic Solanke. You could have got him. There's Ivan Toney. Obviously, he had his issues.
It's very easy to say you could have got him. But Bournemouth didn't need to sell.
Yeah.
Brentford wouldn't have sold.
There's no guarantee with all of these players. There's no guarantee that they make the step up either instantly
this is
or at
Solanke's
all.
first big season as well.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
What Arsenal should do now is go and buy Solanke.
Yeah.
But then that gets them closer next season. I agree with Ben. I kind of think this is exactly what Arsenal should
They've
do
only had a
right
good
now.
team for 2 years, and they prioritise shoring up their back four.
100%. Plus,
than
Jurriën Timber has
over-
been out the entire season, who was supposed to play as that left back who comes into the field, gives them he's incredibly fast, especially in the recovery. Like, that's really helpful for them. That allows them to play a different system completely. Arteta had to change quite a lot of what they planned to do. There's still players that I think they need to bring in. I think they need another central midfielder. I think Granit Xhaka leaving. There was a lot of chat about Granit Xhaka needs to leave now. That
Look at that.
time for everyone to move on. He's been very good this season. That's probably an understatement. He's been very, very good this season. And obviously, Bayer Leverkusen picked up the Bundesliga yesterday. But I think, generally speaking, they're in a very, very good place. They could still win the Premier League. It's not gone.
Yeah.
It's not gone at all. They could win on Wednesday and City could draw at the weekend. And then what? We're talking about Arsenal in the semi-finals of the Champions League. Sorry, it's their first year back in how many years? Many years.
2014,
You're in the quarterfinals
maybe?
against one of the European heavyweights. It's not like they're just going to roll over and go, oh, well, Arsenal are having a good season, aren't they? Like, they got a harder game, I think, than any of us expected, but it's not a shock. Bayern Munich are still a very good team. They had nothing to play for in the league, so their eyes were fixed on not being embarrassed at the Emirates, and they did a good job of that. I'm kind of with you. I think let's not get carried away. Look, I'm very happy the Arsenal fans' heads are gone.
It is great though. Like, there's a lot of managers in football talk about like not getting too high or too low.
Yeah.
We have just showed the exact reason that they say exactly that, because before the game, there was just this super high, and then getting super low does not help you out for Bayern in the week or the next game in the Premier League.
I think it doesn't help that, you know, but Xabi Alonso has come in and essentially just, you know, they were called Leverkusen.
Yeah.
It was never going to happen for them. Like, they were the Spurs. They were called the Spurs of the Bundesliga. It was never ever going to happen. And he has come in and
he's on for a treble.
Beyond revolutionized. They still haven't lost this season.
Yeah.
It's special. Like, it is really special what they're doing there. But it's also, you know, it's incredible what a lot of belief and winning that many games can do for players who, you know, a lot of those players were there previously and
did I even have a look at the previous
Mate,
clubs?
the Leverkusen story is why we love love football. Like, the players in that, like, Xhaka is the first one that springs to mind that we talk about because of Arsenal.
Frimpong's a good example as well.
Yeah, but like,
you know,
the redemption arc of
Ditch
Xhaka, Nathan Teller
Yeah.
wasn't getting a game for Southampton last year. We
Good
sent him out on
move for
loan
him.
to Burnley, and it was just like, and he started the season really well. I watched him play at Sheffield Wednesday away, opening day of the season. He scored. He was brilliant, and then we sold him to Bayer Leverkusen. I was like, a bit of a step up that.
Don't know if he can do that.
Yeah, I was like, aren't they playing in the Europa League? I was like, cool. I thought we'd said, like, Burnley wanted him.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
that was the level he was going to go on to. And then there's so many other, like, it's just a great story where everyone thought that last year Dortmund not winning it was like the last chance of any team.
But look what Leverkusen have shown this year to Dortmund what they need to do when you need to win a big game.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it.
Just go and win it.
It was the last day of the season, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah.
Bayern had been bad last year. Make no mistake, they got away with it last year. Like, it was in Dortmund's hand. They didn't get over the line. This year, they've got nowhere near it, and Leverkusen have been very good.
Yeah.
And haven't allowed Bayern to even get close to it with 2 or 3 games left. So, amazing result. And Xabi Alonso deserves incredible, like the credit he deserves is beyond, because he could go on and win the treble this year. Like, they're the best team in the Europa League, probably bar Liverpool, who look like Liverpool are going out.
We're done. We're done.
We're done. You know, they got the cup final, and and then we'll see. Like, I'd love for those players to stick together for another year and go again in the Champions League. But we'll see. I know, you know, they've when a team does this well, just get picked apart. Even though they're a big team, you know, I'm sure a lot of players will want to stay in the project. There's also an opportunity for lots of those players now to get looked at. I'm sure Jeremy Frimpong will be looked at. I'm sure Boniface will be looked at. I'm sure that a few of the centre backs who Tapsoba and they'll all get looked at by, you know, the European heavyweights who need a bit of reinforcements. But to take it back, it doesn't help. It doesn't help Arteta's cause, is what I'm saying, because football fans are fickle. They want success like that, and the Arsenal project is a longer one. It's a longer one, but, you know, they won an FA Cup in his first season and were shit.
Yeah.
It took Klopp a few years to get going. The Premier League is a endurance race. It's not a quick sprint.
That's sort of what Arteta has actually missed in the last couple of years, is those sort of like fill a gap trophies almost, where it's like it gives your fans a day out where they can say we won the
I agree.
I was going to say the Carling Cup.
But everyone wants them now.
Yeah.
The difference between now and probably even 10, 12 years ago is the pressure on those big clubs to win those trophies
Yeah.
are much higher.
It's much more an expectation rather than like, oh, we'd like to win that.
The League Cup used to be like, turn up and
Yeah.
see if we fancy it. But now, like,
It's actually a competition to play
as
for.
I said, because the desperation for trophies has gone up, even though for clubs it's essentially meaningless because of the money that comes in. For fans, it's everything. It's everything. And even that day out, like Spurs women got through to the FA Cup final yesterday. I'm gassed. I'm going to Wembley. I'm going to have a great day out. The Mandem couldn't do it, so the Galdem did it, right? There was also a lot of other football this weekend, not at the top of the table. Well, just below the top of the table. Spurs managed to get absolutely smashed by Newcastle. This seems to be happening. Newcastle smashed us at their place. We smashed them at our place. They smashed us at their place. We smashed them at our place. And then they smashed us at their place. There's no half measures between the two clubs. But what it did open up was an opportunity for Manchester United to close the gap between Aston Villa and Spurs into those top places, and they chose not to take it.
Yeah,
Again,
they were poor lyrics.
Bournemouth very good though. Again, I thought Bournemouth came with a very good game plan that they've done all season. Solanke again, very very good, and Clivert again very good actually as well. And they could have won it, but one man who got picked out was Casemiro by Jamie Redknapp, who said that he looked like he was playing in Soccer Aid at times.
He just wants to get a call up, to be honest.
And so we asked fans if they thought Casemiro was still good enough to play for Manchester United.
Jamie was a very good midfielder, you know, and he knows his footballing knowledge and everything. But with Casemiro, you've got to look at the man's age, you see. And whatever he's doing for Man United, I personally think he's doing a job. So let's, you know, if he was a 24, 25-year-old, then you can really hammer him. But look at his age and his experience and everything. He's made a mistake, you see. So, not being funny, Casemiro probably will bounce back, probably in the Arabic League or, you know. But for the Premier League, I think he's a bit short.
Couldn't give a shit. Just cast it at United and couldn't care.
A lot of people were talking about him at the start of the season, say he's going to do this and do that. But he's held Man United together despite his injuries that he's had in the last few weeks. People don't realise he's a good midfield player as well. He's a good midfield player, but it's not the way Man United's play, it's the way they're set up. It's the way they're set up.
I disagree. He's a world-class footballer for me. I just think he's gone to the wrong club in Man United.
Would you take him Arsenal?
Yeah.
How would you do Arsenal?
I think him and Declan in the middle, I think we'd do well together. Because he can cover for him at the back, Deck can push forward.
Casemiro, 32. He's not.
He's not ancient.
He's not ancient. I don't think. There's an argument that a lot of Brazilian players struggle with the older they get. But again, he did look leggy against Bournemouth. They had a lot of energy, and in and around midfield. I think there's definitely an element of he's playing with a very, very young Mainu on one side and a Bruno Fernandes who just wants to go out and meet every single ball on the other side. And what it creates is a kind of a corridor of space, which he's then in charge of looking after.
Enforcing,
And he just... I agree with Jamie Redknapp in that he doesn't look like he can do that job.
Yeah. He looks laboured and has done, the Soccer Aid comment is... funny for one.
Definitely funny.
But also, I think in the United team, they are an unbelievably fun watch. Every game they play, what are 2 weeks of football they've had? The Chelsea game, the Liverpool game, the Liverpool game, and the Liverpool game sort of 2 weeks before that, and then this one, where they're just chaos, pure chaos.
Yeah.
I can't remember who tweeted it, but it was the idea of playing central midfield is a mere suggestion in this United team. It's you just
a vibe thing, isn't it?
Just go out and for someone like him, I think at 32 is not old, but it's not super young either.
Yeah,
I think he sort of gets found out when other people do make young decisions and if Bruno goes, then Mainu goes, and he's sort of left with a load of space, load of ground to cover. I think you get the sort of clips that we've seen a few of over the last few weeks, where he's sort of sauntering over. It sometimes looks half-hearted, but I think there's also a thing in his head where the amount of bookings he's received, he's probably trying to avoid the amount that he's picked up recently, and he's sort of going into things like not wanting to get. I think he's just playing almost on like tenterhooks a little bit, a bit nervy, and I think coming out of that Real Madrid team into this Man United environment, it's probably a bit of a culture shock. And look, United have done this to about, well, I don't even know, countless footballers over the last 10 years, where a thriving footballer, so like multiple Champions League winner, has come out and been made to look like memeable, basically, because the environment, but for XYZ reasons, and it is just like United are and have been for a long time an absolute shit show. Like, and it's fun to see. Don't get me wrong;
it's so fun.
I think United, for how chaotic they've been, have almost like done really well to always been in European spots.
Yeah,
because like I always perceive by like perception, I sort of look at them and I go, "You're rubbish," but then they're always sixth. They always pick up points. Like they always go on like a purple patch run where they sort of win 8 or 9 on the bounce over 2 months, and then they do a weird run of form where they beat Liverpool, draw to Bournemouth, and it's just like they are purely chaotic. But they have great footballers, so they are this like team that have the ability to go out and do something mad in a good way, but then also something mad in a bad way. And I think Casemiro is a victim of that as much as anyone in that team, really.
I generally feel sorry for Casemiro.
Do you?
Just because of it's so hard to play in that Man United midfield. I went to the Chelsea game, and honestly, they don't have a midfield. They have Kobe Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes, who just want to get forward. Kobe Mainoo actually is not that bad, but when teams run through teams will run through the middle of the Man United team.
It's amazing, isn't it, how many times that you end up with just the back four and then just a player coming straight towards the back four.
It's scary. And then like it's kind of like Casemiro, like this Casemiro disrespect has to stop, because like he's won so many titles. He was classed as arguably one of the best central defensive midfielders in the world.
And when he came in at United, he made a big difference.
He made a huge difference.
He did make a big difference. I mean, look, it's what happens with older players, right? Is it can be a couple of years, but also I think the mental strain of being in a team. He's so used to being in a Madrid team where everyone was very confident in that they were going to win, and they were going to win something or everything.
Yeah.
And so he said, I think he did an interview recently. He said like the mental strain of being here is different, and I'm struggling with it. You know, it keeps me up at night because I am worried about not being at the level I was at. I'm worried about us losing games. You can see that.
Yeah.
Like you can see that. Like his touch is a bit off at the moment, and he's quality. He's like on the ball, still quality. And the thing that I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. If a player is in like a 1 meter radius of him, he can get them.
Yeah.
But it's that thing of covering the ground now. He has no intensity in his running because he's having to do so much. Like the game just looks so open when Manchester United play.
I think the way they set up their midfield kills him. Like the man-to-man midfield that they play with, it just, as you say, opens them up. And if teams like, and I think Arteta said I think it was Arteta that said it. He was like, I saw it on Saturday Social or something where they asked him like, who's the manager you fear coming up against? He was like, fucking everyone. Like all of them, every single one, like up and down the league even. There are managers that just like Emery yesterday.
Yeah. It's a
brilliant. Like
the
meme that we put out was like the
was
old
a
Emery
masterclass. It was
masterclass.
brilliant.
But there is like so many managers that know, like Gary O'Neill at Wolves has exploited specific ways that teams play, and there's up and down, like the Bournemouth manager. I could go on and on and on. Like Ange, there's so many that just pick a way to play, but actually their analysis of other teams' weaknesses is so strong now that it is a headache for everyone. Arteta must be like, to be a Premier League manager, like Xavi said it about being Barca manager for semi-different reasons, but to be a Premier League manager now, you must think, like, it must just be sleepless nights the whole time.
Yeah.
Like all the time, it's just like fucking hell, Villa. Watkins up front, in behind, running, and like McGinn getting his arse like in front of things. Like they've just, and their back four, unbelievable, like physically ridiculous. But then Spurs have got it where they must have turned up to Newcastle and been like Harvey Barnes, Isak, And then in midfield, Bruno was ridiculously good.
They were, no,
But it's just like,
Elliot Anderson was brilliant.
how do you get
Elliot
any
Anderson
sleep
was
ever? Like, I
brilliant.
struggle at work with like,
Yeah.
I've got a show in the morning. Like, I'm thinking, I've got this, and this. They must be going, and it's like, I'm not trying to beat someone else at my job. I'm just trying to do it. They are actively having other people trying to make their job 10 times harder. And I just honestly do not envy any football manager, but very much so Premier League managers, because it's just like, fuck me, the stress.
I mean, he should just go and live the good life now, right? He's won 5 Champions
That's what
Leagues.
I said.
Just like, you don't need the stress of Manchester United. It's too stressful.
Yeah.
Who needs
the
that?
guy that said he'll bounce back in the Saudi league? I was like, it's not really a bounce back professionally, but maybe like a lifestyle choice and mentally it is a bit. It's
mentally, physically. Yeah, I just think like, really, is it going to be solved in the next 2 years? The Manchester United midfield problem. They're getting worse.
They're getting worse with better players. It's really weird. They're getting worse.
At some point.
They're getting worse with better players. It's so weird.
How long have we been talking about the Manchester United midfield problem?
Wow, they're just
10
Man
years?
United problem. Full
Yeah,
stop.
Yeah, like Casemiro was meant to come in and solve that, even though I think it was a bad signing.
To be honest, he did well for the first, like you said, the first year did well, and I think it's again a lot of injuries, a lot of disruption at the club. You know what's happened off the pitch. There's been loads of disruption at Man United again, and it definitely has just filtered back onto the pitch where, you know, they just look all over the place. They're all over the place. And like, if you said to me again, what are Manchester United? What's the game plan? What are they trying to do? Well, if they're not counter-attacking, then I don't know. They're just sort of popping it about and hoping for the best.
That's literally what they do. Like they literally just
talking about managers under pressure. Like Arteta being under pressure, Ten Hag is.
Oh yeah, and
he's probably like
so.
leading the sack race. I would say right now, like there's not many other managers in the league.
Yeah,
maybe that the bottom 3, bottom 4, bottom 5. That if they if they go down, they would change.
I do think
I can really see them changing.
I do think them points against Liverpool really helped this case, though.
Yeah,
I think they even against Chelsea.
But
as
even
well.
that, everyone knew that they got away with murder that day. Like it was, it was like that was a anomaly result. Like if we're talking XG, it was ridiculous. It was like a Football Manager level of like outrageous.
Let's say 10 hard goals. Who did they bring in? Just out of curiosity, because it's just like
that's the biggest problem.
That's literally
they don't have anyone else.
Yeah.
There's no one that I know, and also I think anyone with kind of
half knowledge
a bit
would
about
go.
them is probably questioning that move now, right? In the same I don't think
that's like even players wise as well, and managers wise.
I mean, you're gonna laugh, but the Southgate shout I don't think is an awful one. The more I've thought about it,
they will hate that. They will hate that.
United need a culture shift first. And then they need a culture shift and an absolute exodus of players where, okay, we don't necessarily get better, but we get rid of the real shit and we operate on a really small squad.
Yeah.
And I think I would say that Gareth Southgate could potentially be okay at that. But he also would be good to just give him the job. He will stick to his task. If it is, get rid of Deadwood. The expectation isn't win trophies instantly. It is you're here to do a bit of a, almost like a consultancy job for us. Because, to go in as a football manager there, you're actually just fighting fires. You're not a football manager.
I just think Manchester United. If you're looking at, they brought in Varane and Casemiro with the hope of bringing in like a more winning mentality. They needed some older heads. Obviously, Varane's not that old, but they need some older heads to come in who'd won a lot to kind of set the tone again. That hasn't worked. And now you're stuck with 2 guys on major wages, like crazy high wages. So I think, again, in the summer, Man United, obviously they're going through a new transition. They, bringing in a lot of people behind the scenes who probably think, well, that's not sustainable, having those guys on 300 grand a week anyway, and actually they're not bringing that value to the club, so they probably have to reassess that generally. It's just you can't cheat your way to a quick win anymore. You have to build it. I think that's the one thing that we're seeing across football is 90% of the time you have to slowly build towards it, and then you get a Xabi Alonso every now and again where everything just comes together. But we'll see what they do in the summer. Getting those 2 off the wage bill, I think, could free them up to do some quite interesting business. That's it. That's the show. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. And also in the comments, put what game you want us to go to next and what fans you want us to speak to next, because we're happy to go all over the country. We've got people all over the country and we want to hear from you. So we'll see you next week. Stay well. See you soon.